finally here. Bird Talk, episode 1. Podcast about everything and anything Lakota West football. It's been a couple months in the making. I'm excited to be here. This podcast run by the newly founded Lakota West Student Broadcasting Club. So I'm Nick Johnson. I'll be the broadcaster on all the football stuff. I'm joined alongside Dimitri Fizik, one of the founding fathers, if you can call
founding
it that.
Fathers? I like that. I like that.
Of the club. And unfortunately not with us, our color analyst, Grant Hageman, unable to join us today, but he will be here for every other podcast. This show, episode 1 is a little bit weird. It's going to be posted a little bit early, but once we get into the school year and the season starts going, it will be every Wednesday throughout the football season. We'll be talking everything about Lakota West football. We got exclusive interviews. Later on, Malik Hartford is going to be joining us. We'll talk a little bit of defense with him. We'll also talk a little bit about what this team is looking like after last year, how last year ended. I mean, the loss to Moeller was disappointing. How are we going to come back from that? We'll talk a little bit about St. X. West plays St. X. They kick off the season against one of, if not their biggest rival right now. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And, of course, we got our predictions. So go ahead and stay tuned. Hope you enjoy the first episode, and I'm excited to see where this ride of the podcast takes us throughout the year.
So, Nick, going into the season, I've heard a lot of people say that roster turnover could be a big issue for Lakota West. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I see where they're coming from, for sure. I don't think it'll be as big of an issue as people think it will be. I mean, I completely understand it. Can you look at the team that got us, to the Moeller game last year? I mean, you got Tegra on the offensive line. He's at Ohio State now, obviously a crucial piece, not just to the offense, but I mean the team as a whole. He helped the team kind of run. He was the part that kept the offense going. He was able to push those bodies on the defense, opened up the run game, kept Mitch safe for the pass game. I mean, the offensive line is really important, and he's a really important piece to it. So I get that. You look at the defense, you got Jair, again, another Ohio State guy. He was kind of that electric playmaker type, and it's hard to lose a guy like that on defense. That's another one I completely understand. I mean, you could throw linebacker Alex Safari, UK commit. You could throw him into that same category. But, I mean, with high school football, turnover is the name of the game. You kind of have to learn to live with it. So as far as Tegra goes, I'm sure that's a place where underclassmen are going to have to step up. And will they be to where Tegra's at? Who knows?
That's the place where the underclassmen get a chance to show themselves, to show Coach Bolden who they really are and how they can play, and to show all these college coaches and college recruiters that they want to play for them. Now that these seniors who had those starting spots for our guys are gone, the younger guys are going to have to step up and show that they can perform at a high level, such as those seniors were performing last year.
Yeah, and I think you look at defense, and even if they're not younger guys, I mean, like I said, Jair was that electric playmaker type. That's a big role to play on defense. But you look at our defensive roster, I mean, that core is still insane. Malik Hartford, he was a junior last year. He's going into a senior year. Personally, I think he takes on that role Jair had, that electric playmaker type. We got Ben Minnick now.
Minnick, yes.
I mean, he's recently been getting offers. He just got a Notre Dame offer. He had an SEC offer with Oklahoma. I mean, these are big offers to have. And I believe he did officially get bumped up to a 4-star from a 3-star recruit, which is a huge difference. You got Josh Fussell, Northwestern commit. I mean, a lot of big-name guys. I mean, granted, they are all going into their senior year, but that doesn't mean they can't fill the holes. I mean, holes aren't only filled by younger guys, and I believe that this team, the foundation, especially on defense, is going to be run by those seniors that have the playing experience, they have the talent. And, hopefully Jair and Alex did a good job leading them last year, because now those guys are going to be the leaders.
Yeah, now, of course, you've got last year's sophomores, this year's upcoming juniors, such as Bukhari Miles, Anthony Henderson, Jacob Asbeck, who all played varsity last year.
Absolutely.
Maybe didn't get enough minutes as they wanted. I know Bukhari Miles probably got a lot of varsity minutes, but Anthony Henderson and Jacob Asbeck, as those defensive backs, didn't really get as much as they would have hoped, and now are looking to go into this season to prove themselves as worth it on the varsity roster.
Yeah, I know Asbeck played a pretty big role last year. I can't say exactly how many minutes he got off the top of my head, obviously, but I mean, I know he was a pretty solid linebacker, and I mean, to be one of those top guys on varsity as a sophomore, that's a good sign. I mean, he's definitely going to take over. Will he be at Alex Safari's level in his junior year? Probably not. I mean, it's very rare to find a talent like that. But I mean, still to be a top tier, very solid talent to kind of fill that hole, not even really fill, to just, Asbeck was on the defense last year. I mean, to keep that role, and you still got 2 more years of him, I mean, that's big for this defense.
Of course, and now taking a look at the offensive side, we know Cam Good, best running back ever for us, is gone. He's now gone. He's off to college. Who is going to cover that running back spot? We've got a couple of options, of course, but who is really going to step up and show that they can be worth that running back spot?
That's all being decided right now. I mean, we can't really say. I mean, I could list a couple guys off, sure. I mean, obviously, there's the big name Trent Lloyd, who I'm sure he can play wide receiver, he can play running back. So I'm sure he'll kind of be splitting time at both. Will he be solely one or the other? Probably not. If anything, I would venture to say he'd probably be more of a receiver. But, I mean, time will kind of tell. Really, whoever's impressing Bolden in practice right now that's the important part. That's who will take over the running back role. So I'm not going to give names or anything. I'm just going to say whoever does the best in practice. I couldn't tell you who that is right now. Unfortunately, I'm not at practice every day, but I'm sure we'll find a good guy. And it's Lakota West.
There's always somebody.
Right. Bolden does a great job running whatever football program he's a part of. I'm sure he's got somebody ready and waiting.
And of course, if we don't have anybody specifically for that position, development can still happen. This is a high school team where we're still early on in the careers of these players. Development can happen to possibly go into that running back role. You see college players go from positions such as quarterback to wide receiver, or from quarterback to tight end to quarterback. That all changes from when you go to college to NFL, same with high school to college. That your positions can change as you adapt to the game and your style of play. So we'll see how Bolden recognizes that within these players. We'll see how he helps them adapt to these positions.
Yeah, there's that, and then just the breakout year. I'd say it's kind of a rarity. You don't see breakout years. Well, I mean, you see breakout years every year, but you don't see like top talents just break out every year.
Right.
You're not going to see some somebody who's not being recruited just automatically jump up to a 5-star in a year. It's just not going to happen. But I mean, you to an extent get those, and I think that's another big part of what's going to happen on running back, because all those guys on that depth chart right now, they're young. They're going into their junior years. I'm sure we got some going in their sophomore years. They're going to have to perform this year, and then they can make that jump maybe later in the season. Maybe it's in the offseason next year, but they're going to make that jump. That's how top talent, evolves. That's how top talent becomes top talent. You're not just going to have a 5-star coming out of junior high starting on varsity as a freshman. That's just not how that works.
So taking a look at the tight end position, though, we have Luka Gilbert, who spent most of his time last season in his freshman year on special teams. He played almost every special team snap last season. It was a key part of that special teams that helped us win games and score points. How is Luka Gilbert going to adapt to that tight end position that he is listed as within Coach Bolden's depth chart after not getting many minutes in that position last year?
Well, you look at Luka, I mean, just looking at who he is, you can say, yes, he didn't get the snaps that he may or may not deserve on offense. We can't say because we haven't seen him. But you just look at Luka. Kid was a freshman last year. He already has an offer from Kentucky. That tells me that you are working with an incredible athlete.
Someone with potential.
Not even just with pure talent, but with absolute potential. You don't know how he's going to evolve. You have to trust him to do it. Because somebody in his shoes, where you're being looked at, by Kentucky, you already have an offer your freshman year, it's expected that he's going to step up and perform. And I think this is a big year for him. Will he get more playing time? Absolutely. I mean, especially being a sophomore, obviously he's still got more years of high school to go, senior, junior year. But being a sophomore is a big step up from being a freshman, whether it sounds like it or not.
Of course.
So, I mean, absolutely he's going to get more playing time, and we'll kind of see him evolve. Will he be in big situations? Maybe, maybe not. Again, I think that comes down to what Bolden sees in practice, but he's still going to be a very crucial part of the offensive core for sure.
And of course, we were talking about earlier, adapting to positions. At the moment, West doesn't have many options at that tight end position. So I'm thinking Bolden is going to take a look around his team, see who he can talk to see who would be interested in possibly adapting to that tight end position. Some bigger guys on his team that would be willing to do the blocking and willing to do the route running and do everything on that offensive core. Maybe some of those defensive guys, the linebackers. You see a linebacker that would be willing to play tight end, someone like that, to get more depth at that tight end position. And of course, we'll just see how it goes every day in training, as you said, practice. What Bolden sees, what the rest of the coaches see is what's important. Those players work their butts off every day in practice to make sure the coaches see the good side of them, and we'll just see how that develops.
Yeah, I mean, development and switching around, that's just a part of, the younger levels of the sport, the high school, the college. I mean, you don't really see guys in the NFL go from receiver to defensive back.
That's your last stage of development.
Right. That's like fine. If you make it to the NFL, you're a specialist at your position.
Exactly.
But, I think West, for the most part, has a lot of areas figured out. I mean, there are the question marks, the tight ends, like Luka, will he step up? Will he not? What Bolden decides to do with him. But I think regardless, there's still a very good foundation. I mean, a lot of that core team from last year that made it to the Moeller game, it's still here. Again, the Hartford, the Fussell, the Minnick, like all those guys. So, I mean, the end to last season, we got to touch on the end of last season. I mean, it was an incredible run. It was an incredible team. Didn't end ideally, obviously. The loss to Moeller. I mean, it was crushing. It was crushing for sure. But, I mean, you look at the game before that, the St. X game. I mean, that seems to be the newfound rivalry, which is the important part. I mean, a team like West, you need a team, especially locally, that you can just point to and say, that's why. That's why we're in the gym every day. That's why we're on the practice field. This is why we go out every Friday night and we perform. I mean, it's moments like that. And you look at that game, and West was finally able to take down St. X, and it was huge. The fans loved it. I mean, the team, I've never seen the team more energized on the sideline, both pre and post game, than I saw them that game.
It was just
Yeah.
a name.
Yeah, and for all of you non-Lakota listeners out there, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. West and East don't actually hate each other. That's so played up. As a West student, I can tell you right now, I have no hatred towards East.
We just like to talk.
Yeah, actually, episode 2 is gonna be before the East game, so you'll probably hear us have some fun and kind of laugh at East and say, haha, East sucks. But I mean,
I'm talking about East. I don't mean it.
it's pure hatred with X. But I mean, again, that goes to show you. I mean, it's a strong rivalry. It's what the team needs.
And a win in that rivalry is what the team needed to set us off for this season, especially playing them week 1.
Yeah.
2 rivalry games in the first 2 weeks. It's going to be an exciting season when we start it off like that.
Absolutely. I think, I mean, regardless of how the St. X game goes, this West team is still going to make the tournament, obviously. They're still going to do really, really well. I think winning the St. X game would be a bonus, and it would be huge for the team and for the fans because you're beating St. X. That game, honestly, like heading into the season, it's weird to have such a big game week 1 because a lot of big games, you want to have them later on in the season because it's like your team's true final form. Like, okay, this is what we have, this is what you have, and it's like it's all
the team's fully developed for the
Right.
season. They're in form. They're ready to play.
Week 1 is a weird time because teams are still figuring, themselves out. They're still trying to figure the other team out. The other team hasn't figured itself out. So there's a lot going on week 1 that you have to keep in mind, but it should still be a fun game regardless. And I'd say for West, just go out there, try and win the rivalry, have fun doing it. because, I mean, worst case scenario, you take the loss. Personally, I think West is going to win, but worst case scenario, you take the loss, you still make the tournament. Maybe there's a chance to see them, later on in the tournament like we had last year.
And you think about it, we took that loss to Moeller. It was a hard loss in the playoffs last year. But now, does that give us motivation for this season to be back on the top? And how can we get back to the top with putting in the effort that we do every single day?
Yeah, I mean, getting back to the top, I mean, as I said earlier, like, turnover's kind of the name of the game, high school, college.
Of course.
But it's just performance. You have those returning guys. Great. I mean, that's the foundation of what we have. It's going to be on those younger guys' performance. I think baseline, what we have right now, like I said, defense, all those big names we have, that'll take us far. Those young guys stepping up and performing to where they need to be, that's what's going to take us even farther. I mean, that will be the deciding factor. I believe it'll be the deciding factor in whether or not we see this team playing in the Final Four later this year. All right, so we're joined by special guest on the first episode of the podcast. Breaking in the special guest segment, four-star safety, Ohio State commit, Malik Hartford. Malik, how you doing?
Good. How are you guys?
I mean, I'm doing just fine. we got a football season coming up. It's gonna be a fun few weeks for sure, and we're excited to have you on here. So I guess I'll get right into the questions. On this West team, there's a lot of talent for sure. Yeah. But not for whatever reason. I mean, you're an insane talent, but your name sticks out the most. Mm-hmm. I mean, is it like an honor to be like one of those top guys, or do you look at yourself as just like one of many?
I mean, it definitely is an honor, but I still look at it to where I wouldn't be where I am without all the other guys on defense, because if something breaks down, I'm not always going to be right. I'm not always going to be in the best position, but my teammates have my back, and they make it right. So
your teammates are the ones that help you step up and be who you can be, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And, I mean, you were voted team captain. So, I mean, what is it like just being one of those top guys that the locker room sees as a captain?
I mean, it's definitely exciting. It helps me. I got to set the standard for the younger players. I got to set the standard even for the older players. And I think it's a tribute to how much we compete on the field. And, yeah, I'm excited to lead the team.
So, I mean, you had an insane junior year last year, and now you're heading into your senior year. Does it feel like there's a difference at all just being a senior, maybe as far as seniority goes, like the younger guys look up to you more, or do you feel like it's kind of the same, just a new title?
I feel like there definitely is a difference, because you're the older guy now. You are the guy now. I mean, I had a feel for being the guy, but there was still Alex, Jair, and Tegra. I mean, and they were all pretty good leaders, but once those guys leave, you have to step up and play an even bigger role, and it's challenging, but it's definitely, I'm willing to do it, and it's a fun experience.
So you mentioned Jair and Tegra, and you're headed off to Ohio State next year where they are now. Are you still in contact with them at all, talking about Ohio State?
Yeah, I mean, I talk to them a little, but, we kind of go our separate ways when the football season starts. I mean, they're grinding, I'm grinding. We're trying to win a state championship. They're trying to win a national championship, so.
Right. And is there a reason that kind of stands out about why Ohio State over the other schools?
I mean, it's closer. They just have an amazing culture, and I just want to win. That's one of the biggest reasons. I want to win, not only in football, but in life, and I think Ohio State provides that.
So being recruited by Ohio State, I mean, I know I briefly talked with you about this at the end of last year, but I figured I'd touch on it again on the podcast. The ups and downs of the recruiting process, all the crazy people out there, walk us through some of the higher moments and then some of those weirder moments of the recruiting process.
I mean, personally, I try to just stay out of most of the online stuff, just because none of that stuff really matters. I'm pretty locked in with Ohio State, so as far as all the other coaches hitting me up and stuff, I don't talk to them whatsoever. Yeah, I mean, I kind of ended my recruitment pretty early, but that's how I wanted it to be. I didn't want to go through all the craziness and all the ups and downs. I pretty much stayed at a steady rate. I didn't really have any down moments, any way up moments, but yeah, it's been fun. I mean, really, I just told him how the experience was for me, and I just let him experience his own recruitment. I don't give him too many pointers anywhere. I mean, wherever he wants to go, that's where he's gonna go. So, I'm happy for him. I'm excited for him. I mean, we've been playing together since freedom. So.
Yeah, I mean, you've touched on that chemistry. I mean, not just between you and Ben, but really, I mean, that whole defense seems like a pretty tight-knit group. How much of an advantage do you think that is on the field?
I mean, I think that's a great advantage because, the chemistry is just way stronger when your whole defensive group hangs out outside of football. I mean, we're all tight. We all hang out all the time. I mean, there's no break in the bonds that we have.
So going back to the recruiting one more time, for both you and Ben, anybody being recruited on the West team, really, I mean, do you see it as helpful to have an experienced guy like Coach Bolden at the helm? I mean, he's obviously, he arrived at West from Coleraine after being there for many years. So, I mean, he's been through the ringer when it comes to recruiting.
Yeah, I mean, when you look back through all the years that West has played football, even with Coach Cox, we've always had dudes. But with Coach Bolden, he doesn't just make dudes, he also makes better men, and it all like corresponds with each other, and it leads to good football teams. Not good, great football teams.
So I guess I'll get into the real like football talk now. How long have you been playing? Have you been like a lifelong kind of guy?
Yeah, pretty much. I started playing flag football in kindergarten, and then I got into tackle in first grade, but I moved away. I started living in Africa for 3 years, so I missed football then. And when I came back, it was just like football. I loved the sport, and taking it away from me was definitely disappointing. But
were you always a defensive? I mean, at the younger levels, they tend to move you around, but were you for the most part like the guy on defense?
I really was an offensive player going back. I was actually a running back, but I'm a little too skinny for that now, but it is what it is. I love playing DB. I love hitting people, so I'm going to rock with it.
It's the fun part of the job, right? So football IQ-wise, I know, being one of those top talents, I mean, just what runs through your mind pre-snap? Like, what are you seeing?
Pre-snap, first you want to look at the formation. Is the receiver tight? Is the receiver wide? I mean, little pointers like that, and then I mean, it's all really game planning too. Once you have a set game plan for a certain team, it definitely helps out a lot with all the motions, with all the formations, and then once you start getting a feel for the quarterback, you can start reading his shoulders and intercept passes.
So, going again with the chemistry, I mean, that included, but it seems like a lot of other factors have kind of gone into this team's rise over the past few years. What do you feel has been like the biggest thing that has really just made this team click over the past like 2-3 years?
I really just think it's the culture. I mean, Coach B came in, he changed the whole culture around. I mean, guys are having fun playing football, and I don't think that was the case with Coach Cox, but I can't really speak for that because I wasn't here. But just what I heard, it's a lot more fun to play with Coach B. I mean, he's charismatic, he cares for his players, and I think that it shows on the football field.
So last year, obviously, the season didn't end the way West hoped it would against Moeller. But, I mean, going to the game before that, St. X, I mean, that rivalry game really paid off. West was finally able to knock off X, and it was in a big moment. So, I mean, that seems to be like a newfound rivalry. So from a player standpoint, not just like a fan standpoint, but from your point of view, what do you feel with that rivalry?
I mean, just beat X. I don't really it's been tough. I mean, we're back and forth. We're playing in big games, so it's definitely good. It's good that we play them week 1 because it'll be good competition. Let us see where we're struggling and where we're good at, and then we just move forward from there, win or loss. But I mean, obviously we want to win. And then that Moeller game, it was just tough because we were really high on that St. X game. Guys were starting to think we had it in the bag. But, every team in the playoffs is going to bring it, and we just fell short.
So what are you kind of thinking heading into week 1?
I mean, we just got to show up. I feel like we still have that underdog mentality because a lot of teams still write us off because we haven't made it to that state championship. So we've just been grinding this summer. We just had a 2-a-day. Yeah.
So, this is the first time recently, if I'm not mistaken ever, I can't name a single time off the top of my head this has happened, but St. X is coming to Lakota West. Do you feel that's like a big advantage for that game?
I think either way the crowd's going to be loud. I mean, St. X is going to flood their side just like they did at home, but I mean, the crowd won't really affect the game that much. I mean, it kind of, when you're in the moment, everything just zones out. So we just got to come prepared. We got to watch film. We got to get all the details down in order for us to win the game.
All right, well, that's pretty much all the questions I had for you. I mean, I'll let you have the mic for a second. Is there anything you want to say to the Lakota West fans, to, anybody at Ohio State watching this?
I mean, to all the Lakota West fans, just be ready because we're coming this year. Nothing's given. It's going to be a tough road, but we're grinding out here, and all the guys are excited for this year and hopefully to win a state championship. And other than that, OH.
I-O.
All right, well, thanks for coming on. Best of luck to you this season. Have a good one, man.
All right, now that we had that interview with Malik, let's go ahead and get into the predictions for the first game of the season against our rivals, St. X. This is going to be, of course, we're all going to pick Lakota West because that's our school.
Let's be real here.
Right. That's why we're here. That's why we're doing this. That's who we're doing this for.
Thank you.
But let's give it a little bit of a twist. Each week, we're going to pick a prediction, maybe pick Lakota West every week, but let's pick a score. And we've decided whoever is the closest to the score will get a tally for a win every single week. And whoever has the most wins or the best win-loss ratio by the end of the season gets a little bit of a prize.
We need a punishment for the loser. I don't want a prize. I want to see the loser get punished.
We'll figure that out as we go, Nick.
Take a bath in mayonnaise, like that one guy on College Game Day. That was a fun clip.
Yeah,
I like that clip. I want to see that happen to one of you two.
But that's going to happen to you.
No. I mean, looking at this game, there are a lot of factors at play. I think West by far has the advantage here. I think West is the better football team as of right now. You get later in the season, maybe things will look different. St. X finds themselves. I think West is set up better. I think St. X they're a relatively young team because, I mean, you look at the going back to the turnover they had. I mean, this is almost a brand new St. X football team, but it is still St. X. I don't want to call it a blue blood of high school football, but that's essentially what it is, right? So, I mean, I'm going to say West wins it. I'm going to say it's close.
It'll be close.
I'm going to go 24-13. West pulls away a little bit at the end.
You think that's close? 24-13.
It's going to be
You
close.
are going down this season. You will be taking that bath of mayonnaise.
We're gonna pull away at the end.
I will pay for the mayonnaise myself for you, Nicholas.
All right, I want a swimming pool full of it. One of those kiddie pools. Oh, yes, please.
Got you.
Burger. Extra cheese.
Extra cheese.
Brioche bun.
Oh, we're getting fancy here.
Taking a bath in the mayonnaise with my burger.
Yeah.
Although, that'll be you, not me.
We'll find out. We shall find out.
Well, we're not the only ones making predictions. I guess we'll throw it over to Grant now. Grant, as I said earlier, unfortunately can't be with us, but that doesn't mean he gets out of the predictions. He's going down with us. He'll be taking a bath in mayonnaise too, if he loses anyway. So let's go ahead and throw it on over to him.
Hey, my name is Grant Hageman. I am the analyst here for the Lakota West broadcasting team, and I'm here to give you my prediction. You'll see a lot more of me in the future in this podcast, but I could not make it this week due to other commitments. So to get into it, my prediction for this game is I see Lakota West taking this game 34-10. I see a big movement and a big difference in score based on St. X's big graduating class last year. They overstocked on seniors, and I mean, you can never really completely count them out, and so I see them getting down the field a couple times this game, but I really like Steve Specht could lead them, and surprise me, make this game a lot closer than I see, but even he has commented on the situation saying, we just have so many kids that are inexperienced because we played so many seniors last year, we'll figure it out. And with West heading into the season with a veteran team, hungry to win it all this year, I only see this really going one way. Maybe if it was later in the season, and then this could have been a closer game when St. X has their depth chart figured out, but right now they don't even have a QB1 figured out with 4 kids in the running. And so I see West taking this one by a big gap, and I'm excited for the game.
All right, well, that was the first episode, the inaugural episode of Bird Talk. I'm glad this got figured out. It's been a little while in the making. I've been excited to finally kick this off. The broadcasting club is brand new. We got a lot of fun stuff coming up, including this. We're excited to see where this show goes throughout the year. We're excited to see how West does, following them. You can catch all the games live as well as other episodes of Bird Talk right here on this YouTube channel. So go ahead and subscribe, stay up to date. We got a lot of fun stuff on the way. So I'll just say stay tuned. And as Mr. Brown would say, as always,
Go Firebirds.